We are counting down to the opening bell of New York Stock Exchange, where trading was halted for more than 3 hours on Wednesday due to a technical issue. Joe Saluzzi is co-founder at Themis Trading, the author of the recent book, Predatory Markets, How High-Frequency Trading and Predatory Practices on Wall Street Are Destroying. Good to see you. Broken Markets. Well, they left the end out. I'm glad you were here to fill it in.
That was actually the name of the book, but don't worry about it.
Who's counting?
It's not Michael Lewis's book.
What's your take on what happened yesterday?
Listen, we're in a technological world. There's always going to be a software glitch. There's no question. And in fact, there's constant exchange glitches. There was just one on Monday on one of Batz's exchanges called EdgeX. No one talked about it because it's a relatively minor exchange. There will be more of these. I do think the NYSE, actually, New York Stock Exchange did a good job. I think Tom Farley, in his interview yesterday after the close, he mentioned that the close was the most important thing for the New York Stock Exchange.
Getting this closing cross,
absolutely,
as they say,
right? Clothes, not the clothing. The clothes.
The
clothes. Okay, because he wears a suit pretty well.
He's a good-looking dude, right? Come on.
You said it.
No man crush here. But the bottom line is they did what they were supposed to do, and maybe they took a little extra time to make sure that they got that close right. But here's the thing. As a professional trader, we trade for institutions. We traded all day long. We didn't stop trading. I traded on Arca, which is one of NYSE's exchanges. I traded on BATS. I traded on NASDAQ. With that said, I'm hearing an argument today that fragmentation is good.
Well, you're making the argument for yourself.
Well, here's the difference. There's competition and there's fragmentation. Right now, the U.S. equity market has 11 stock exchanges and over 40 dark pools, of which 5 of these exchanges have less than 3% market share. They're irrelevant. They should go away. We don't need 11 stock exchanges. We probably need closer to 4 or 5.
I thought we learned yesterday that we do.
Not 11. I would take more than one because I don't want a central limit order book because then I'm stuck in one spot. But maybe I can deal with NASDAQ, BATS, and New York. Why not just have 3? Why do I need 40 dark pools? Why not have about 10? Unless you're coming to the table with something creative and competitive like IEX is when they came out with their new system, which was a great system with innovation, why do I need a system that just has a pricing rebate that flips around or some sort of latency advantage? That's not what the market's about. We're trying to aggregate liquidity.
I hear you, but the genie's out of the bottle. Right? How are you going to put it back in? If anything, it's going to go further the other way.
Well, the SEC has to stop approving exchanges, first of all. But I also would say that there should be a test. If you don't have at least 3% market share, you should not be able to continue having a protected market quote, which means that I don't need to route to you during the day. There's no need for all this fragmentation. And here's the funny part. A lot of the high-frequency traders agree with me because they're tired of paying for connections and to co-locate at all these other sub-exchanges. They're unnecessary. What the goal here should be to aggregate liquidity, bucket liquidity, so that all types of investors are playing in the same pool, not disintermediation where all of this noise goes on and guys are just looking to clip a rebate or running to one exchange so he can get a latency advantage over another. That's noise. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. And I think this said yesterday could be a good way for the SEC to step in and say, you know what, hold on, we do have an issue here. Fragmentation is not good. Okay, competition is good. There's a big difference there.
Joe, it's very interesting. Earlier, other Joe was asking about whether there was a risk of cyber attack. Don't you think that we're going to see natural competitive forces squeezing out these smaller exchanges because the amount of investment required for security, for innovation and other things, is just going to squeeze them to the wall? Well, so wouldn't it be better to allow that sort of accelerated competition rather than market intervention? We heard earlier somebody else saying they don't like institutions and governments intervening in markets.
Well, sure. I mean, hey, I'm a free market guy as well, and I would never say I want all this excess regulation. But here's the funny part. The exchanges are basically owned by 3 families, the 3 families. New York owns 3 of them, NASDAQ owns 3 of them, and BATS owns 4 of them. So 10 of the exchanges are owned by 3 families. There's no need to have 4 exchanges at one facility. And in fact, a lot of them are operating in the same data center right now. You know, it's time to aggregate liquidity, and then you're not going to see 200 share fills or 100 share fills. I'm going to start to get chunkier stuff. I got to move stock during the day.
There's a reason you're using the term family.
You kind of work
Your name's Saluzzi.
No intent there.
Are you implying it's
no intent. Huh? I like to use color a little bit, you know?
I see that. Am I okay? Are you okay with me?
Come to Jersey. I'll take care of you.
Do you think this is going to hit the individual investor? Do you think they're going to be turned off by this?
I think it's a confidence thing. And I mean, when you see a headline that the New York Stock Exchange is down, it's a confidence problem.
Really believe so?
For a while, but they'll look, we're in a 24-hour news cycle. They'll get over it tomorrow because they read the headline. Right. New York Stock Exchange is halted, but they were not. One good thing the New York Stock Exchange did also, by the way, was they didn't halt stocks across the board. They only halted it on their exchange.
We still be more confident that the system works and they don't have to worry about it.
5-4. Thank you, Joe. It's good to see you. All right.
Good to see you.
Coming up, Yahoo's Big Bet.